So let's now talk about how we can actually do this frame and hip escape and show how the scaffolding with that inversion is going to create the space that we need to be able to either just bring in a butterfly hook, or for the majority of the time we're going to be backing our hips out, escaping from that situation.
Quick note, whenever you're repping mount escapes, person on top is getting a free rep, and if you neglect that free rep, you're just wasting an opportunity to get better at jiu-jitsu. So if we were drilling this in class and I was like, yeah, let me mount you, that's not how you'd ever mount someone in an actual roll. So practice getting across face, walking an underhook up, sliding your shin across, flipping your feet into position, and actually like assuming the mount correctly. It's just a bit of extra training that you get for free.
It's good to have. So I immediately get myself into this position. Both shoulder blades are on the mat, which is not good, so I want to start getting onto my side. That first bridge is going to disrupt Rob's center of gravity, make him lighter, so I can actually turn myself. Here, I get myself turned onto my side now. Now I can also extend this frame even further because my right shoulder is just going to be that much more lifted.
And just for reference, because you can't see my left leg, because of our relative height and me not having abnormally long femurs, my left knee is off the mat already.
Yeah.
Just by Rory making this adjustment.
So now what I want to do is I want to actually start looking to do that partial inversion like Rob talked about in the previous video. If I try to just invert from here, Rob's weight is all just sitting so heavy down on my hips. So the goal here is to, even though his hands are based into the mat right now, I want to still give him another bridge and bump to put more weight into his upper body so that then I can turn myself here into this position. The frame and that elbow placement is super crucial. I like to try and bring my knees up as much as possible so that I have, like I can hold Rob's weight right here because I have my femur, my knee planted into the mat relatively underneath my hips. I am not trying to plank like this because that's going to take a lot of energy. There are times where depending on the person that you're going up against, you're not going to be able to get your knees very much underneath you, but the more you can bring your knees to your chest as you start to get into this position, even here, I'm now able to support a little bit more with bone rather than trying to do something like this. That's going to be very energy intensive. My goal is to just keep Rob in place with these frames in my upper body, while now my lower body, with my legs based into the mat, can now start to back out through the space where his knee is lifted, which I'll be showing you guys in a sec with the angle. From here, I'm going to be able to start now incorporating, if you know single leg X, this is like my favorite, probably all of our favorites. But I'm able to now just start bringing that knee-elbow connection back in to establish a butterfly hook so that now I'm going to be able to start off-balancing him and bring my other leg back in. My hips are already up in the air, and I just need to make sure that I'm able to generate, like, that I have some potential energy so that I'm able to actually use that to move me. So that's the other important thing, that when I'm doing this inversion, if I'm extended out like this in any kind of way, my ability now to actually push away is gone because I'm already fully extended. What I'm doing is, as I'm turning myself, I'm trying to bring my knees up close to me so that my legs are still curled, so that from here I'll be able to actually propel myself like that shrimping motion that you guys practice and be able to actually move my hips back. Now, because of my elbow placement, with my right elbow into Rob's left hip, I should be able to start driving Rob a little more to his right side, so you should typically get the knee behind you lifting off the mat first because of how you're going to be driving your opponent.
Yeah, let's do it from this side. So.
Yeah. So like when I do this with my bridge, I'm also like imagining like I got tight connection here with my elbow into him. That then when I'm looking to do this bridge here, my elbow, if I could, I am elbowing him in the hip and trying to throw him like that. It's not going to happen, but it's going to help me shift his center of gravity off to my left, his right. So as I'm here and I bumped him, and then I'm bridging again, see how that knee lifts. His right knee is on the mat right now, but his left knee is not. That means now, with me keeping his hips here in place, my upper body doesn't really move, my lower body is now able to move through that space like this. And now I've accessed his lever. He can't drop that knee now without it just landing on top of me, which isn't going to be very helpful to him. These frames are still in place here because if I remove them in any kind of way, I might even end up getting triangle or something embarrassing. I'm now able to now bring my left knee in like this. Now I've recomposed that knee elbow connection. Now at this point, mount doesn't exist. I still have to get rid of this leg. I can either accept this leg and just go into something like single leg X, or from here I'm going to be bringing in my other leg. So from here I'm going to move a little bit more to my back and bring this butterfly hook in. And then with this momentum, try to shift them back. Butterfly guard's gonna be a great spot. I mean, obviously if you're a half guard player, you're able to move yourself into there. We just wanna be careful bringing in that top knee at the end and not doing so at a horrible angle. So if I'm here, I bumped Rob, I turn myself, see, I'm safe. Rob trying to take my back from here. That elbow placement's huge. If it drifts across, then yeah, I'm gonna get my back taken every time. Here, I receive back into that space. I bring my knee elbow connection in. If I bring my top knee in and just do this, Rob has the ability to just smash pass at this point because my leg becomes a lever like this that Rob's gonna be able to create downward force and pin my legs together. I wanna make sure that if I'm bringing my knee in, I'm able to point my knee up to the sky. And if I don't feel like I can do that, that's where I'll use that bottom hook and that positioning, that when I'm here, I bring this in and I'll re-correct myself first. And now I have a frame that can bear weight that now will allow me to bring this other frame in, and now I'm gonna be safe. There's no ability for Rob to be able to do any kind of smash pass from there.
Yeah, that's actually a really important detail. This is something we need to reinforce for people all the time, which is bringing the top leg in or the top knee in when we do some sort of hip escape. It's quite instinctive for people.
It just feels closer.
It feels closer, and it's not always wrong. Like in certain guard retention situations, it can lead to Granbys and all that. That's all great. But if you think about the angle that I'm occupying, my hips and shoulders are pointed this way. And if I bring this bottom knee in, even though it's not pointed up at the beginning, like before it comes to the mount for a second here, like once I get myself up to here and I get this bottom knee in, I'm still oriented this way. But if Rory wants to smash my, like, especially because of my knee elbow connection, my right arm being underneath of my my leg, it's fully supported. So there's no possibility of him smashing this down and going. It doesn't change the angle at all, and he can't go in this direction. Whereas if I replace this with this, you can start to see the problem. There's no way to effectively support this leg. It's now rotated my hips completely the opposite direction of where Rory wants to go. So I can't even effectively make this butterfly hook. He'll be able to step into side control and the back really because of how rotated my hips are. So in this scenario, no matter how tempting it is, try not to bring this top knee in. Again, in scenarios where you're doing stuff like this, it can be fine, but not here. It's a big liability to bring the top knee in. We want to bring the bottom knee in to recreate the knee elbow connection. And when we do, so if I've got this bottom knee in, now when I go to lift him, that's where Rory was talking about was so important, is I rotate onto my back. So you can see at this angle, if I go to lift, nothing really happens because I'm either extending my leg out like to my right, which doesn't affect him, or I'm using my adductors here to try to lift him, which is not likely to work. I'm going to turn onto my back. I'm going to be framing his torso or his hips, whatever's more accessible, and rather than trying to do a leg extension here to lift him, I'm going to plant my left foot on the mat, and that gives me the base to get myself back into butterfly guard. A lot of people struggle with that, or like they get to this side and then they rotate the other way to get the other knee in, which creates a top knee lever effect that we want to avoid.
And so Rob had kind of just shown it in there. The main escape that I've been showing so far is if you're able to drive your opponent over and make them base into the leg of the way that you're facing. But some guys are going to overcompensate, especially if you've already hit this escape on them. And so when Rob starts to bridge and shift me this way, and I don't like it, I'm going to make sure I put my knee on the mat. But that means that this knee has to lift. And unfortunately for me, and it's why a lot of guys opt to try to avoid this most of the time, is that it's facing towards his legs as well. And so it's much easier for him to put that first hook in.
And it's important here that you avoid the temptation to just go to half guard. Because in this, we'll be discussing a lever-based escape in the next video, which will basically, by necessity, you'll have to go to half guard. So we don't want to say it's wrong to escape to half guard. But if I just take sort of the easy route, this is not a great half guard. First of all, this is a 3/4 mount. Some people call this quarter guard. I think that's bad math. This is, especially if we're talking about fighting, I just lost my ability to effectively bridge and bump him and avoid strikes.
Yeah, I'm happy.
He's a lot closer to my back than I'd like him to be. To keep my elbow against his hip is more difficult. He's got a strong underhook. He can really break the position, break my alignment. So when we're here and this knee is in the air because of this reaction, we really want to try to put our knee inside of our biceps and rest our partner on our butterfly hook so we can elevate him and bring him into butterfly guard. It's, again, just from an overall distance management, which if you have been watching this series, we talked about the guard as primarily a range management tool that establishes a set of frames between you and your opponent. And the more redundancy, the more layers you have between your opponent and yourself, the safer you are. With the half guard, I've only got that elbow frame, whereas with the butterfly guard, I now have the shin. I can now, because I've got the shin in, controlling the distance between our hips, I can now use my arm frames to push off a little bit more effectively without fear of being arm barred or dragged or having my back taken. And now I can put more frames in between us. So I'm just rendering myself safer and safer as the process continues.
Let's just do one more angle with the feet sticking out. You see how that butterfly hook just gives them such a powerful ability to just lift me straight up that you do not get with any kind of clamping version of a half guard, or like we talked about with like a 3/4 mount where it's not really a guard. I have no ability to really be able to affect Rob's movement there. So that is from the best case scenario when we unfortunately get mounted. Where we're able to frame and also have our leg on the inside, so we're able to control that.
Our arm on the inside.
Our arm on the inside of the leg. Talking's hard. And so in the next video, we're going to be talking about a lever-based escape where we are going to be looking to get to half guard. We're unable to get the arms inside. So if you guys are having difficulty with this, I mean, obviously keep practicing it, but we'll be providing you guys with another option.